The Tennis Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Nordic Fantasy. Get up to $1,000 deposit match when you sign up at Nordic Fantasy with the promo code SGPN. And welcome, everybody, to the Tennis Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It's currently Saturday night, June 21st, around 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm Rosso Reichel, once again going solo for this pod. Time to get into the breakdown of the final matches in Halle and in London, taking place on Sunday. For that, though, a reminder that you can help support the show by subscribing to YouTube. Reminder to leave a rating and a review on Spotify or Apple. So podcast available in either video format, live stream format, or even audio format on Spotify or Apple. So no matter how you actually watch the podcast or listen to it, don't forget to leave some feedback. Don't forget to leave a rating and a review on Spotify or Apple. Don't forget to like, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Plus, a reminder, check out the merch store on the SGPN website. We have a lot of great tennis options on that merch store. We do have some shirts, sweatshirts, and mugs, high quality, very affordable, different colors. So I recommend getting yourself something there. And a reminder that we do have some new content from the College Experience guys, because they are starting their college football season preview, doing team previews. So once again, if you want to check out the College Experience, Kobe and Moneyline Mac are previewing every FBS college team. Don't miss out. Check out the College Experience for some very early college football previews. Anyway, starting off with the actual recap of what happened in the matches on Saturday for the semis in Halle and London. We had a phenomenal episode. We got everything right, I believe. I don't think we got a single thing wrong. Overall, starting off with the lock and dog, nice and easy on both sides. We had Medvedev team total over 12.5 at minus 122 as the lock. Never in doubt, as he got a breaker in the first set, coasted in the breaker. Then he kind of choked the end of the second set. Didn't matter anyway, as he lost in a breaker. So we had 13 games already entering that second set breaker. So we were cruising the entire way through. Never in doubt there. For the dog, nice win is Wladimir Heshka, plus 2.5 games at plus 106. Never in doubt either, as he won the first set. Eventually did win the match outright as a decent dog. But either way, never in doubt for the lock and dog. Back-to-back sweeps for us. So a nice run on the show. We'll try to keep rolling here on Sunday for the matches in Halle and in London, the final matches of those two events. Starting off with the actual recap of the matches that took place on Saturday. Starting off with the matches that happened in Halle. So you had Medvedev beating Zverev in 3. We liked the over. We liked Medvedev team total. We liked the Medvedev money line. It all worked out as Medvedev did win in 3. Should have won in 2, had multiple match points in that final service game for Zverev in the second set. Zverev fought it off, then eventually went up, I think it was 6-0 in the tiebreak, and Medvedev eventually lost the breaker, but responded and broke early in the third, held, and eventually did win 6-4 in the final set. Medvedev owns the damn guy. It's the same exact script that we saw from the Fritz match against Zverev in Stuttgart, where it's in Germany. People are picking Zverev to show up and to beat a guy who's kind of owned him over the last couple of years in Fritz, and he lost both times. So Medvedev and Fritz seem to just have Zverev's number, and Medvedev got the job done there in 3. Should have been in 2. Doesn't matter either way. The over would have gotten there. The only difference is the over 2.5 sets ended up getting there in this case instead of the straight set win for Medvedev. But either way, got the match perfectly correct. And we'll try to once again recap the other matches and preview them with, I'd say, hopefully as much accuracy as we did for that one, because we got everything right, and it feels good when you get everything right for a match. For the second match, we got everything right. We had Bublik winning. We liked the over. Thought it'd be close, and it was, as Khachanov ended up actually covering the spread. Bublik lost the first set, won a breaker, and then eventually won in the third set 6-4. We thought he'd win, thought it'd be close, thought we'd get Bublik and Medvedev in the final. We did, so got the entire thing right for the semis on Saturday. 2 3-set marathons where the favorite would win the last matchup with Bublik, who's been in great form. Thought that the dog had some value for Medvedev. I still can't believe Zverev was minus 140. Just an insane price for Zverev against the guy who's won, I think now it's 8 of the last 9 meetings. I think it's been just complete domination for Medvedev either way. But point is, a nice win for Medvedev and for Bublik. Moving on to London, we once again got everything right. Wladimir Heshka beating Draper. We thought that plus 180 was a steal based on Draper's form, dropping sets to Papirin and dropping a set to Nakashima. Thought that Heshka, who had really not been broken ever in the entire event, he was cruising. Thought that he looked pretty good. Thought it'd be close, and I did think that it was going to be a war either way. We had the games in favor of Heshka. We had plus the games, and that was plus money. We thought the money line had value at plus 180, like the over 2.5 sets as well. So we got that right too. And for the last match, Ended up having Alcaraz dominating against Agut. Now, he did not cover, so that part we actually did get slightly wrong. But we like the under. We like the Alcaraz team total under, which was plus money. Either way, point is, you ended up seeing Alcaraz dominate. Agut had a very good run, beat Rune and all, but I've said it before, the veteran guys, the old guard, they might look very good if they have a day off to prepare, but if they're playing back-to-back days, they're in trouble, and Alcaraz was really the aggressor the entire match. It looked like he kind of dominated. And 6-4, 6-4 felt kind of generous because Alcaraz had a bunch of chances to potentially open up a decent lead in that, say, first or second set. He ended up only facing one break point the entire match, did not get broken. He had 15 aces. He really just dominated. So it felt like he had some chances to potentially open up an even bigger lead for that one. But either way, Alcaraz got the job done. Team total under got there, the under got there, and Alcaraz won without a sweat. So once again, a great day for us. See, Ginger mentioning, would have been a nice day for the ladder. Yeah, forget about the ladder. It would have been a nice day for a parlay. We got everything right. So it would have been a pretty solid payout if we ended up parlaying everything. But either way, a perfect episode for us, basically. We'll try to keep rolling here for the finals taking place on Sunday. Before we get into that, though, a brief look at the women's side. Because you saw Sabalenka, who ended up beating Rybakina in that insane comeback where Rybakina lost the final 6 points of the match in the breaker. And then Sabalenka came out and said, you know what, I shouldn't be here, and immediately got her ass kicked by Vondrousova. So good for Vondrousova. We know that she won Wimbledon a couple years ago. Dangerous. She's always dangerous. Killed Sabalenka 6-2, 6-4. So that was kind of a shock to some. Sabalenka was a massive favorite, minus 250 or so. Vondrousova killed her, and she won comfortably in straight sets. And you saw Wang continue her qualifier run as she was able to beat Samsonova comfortably 6-4, 6-1. For Nottingham, Yastremska beat Lynette in straight sets, and Kessler ended up winning in straight sets. So no drama at all on the women's side, as every single match was decided in straight sets. You had 0-7-5s or 7-6 sets. Everything was very, very straightforward. The men's side, though, had 3 of the 4 matches going to a deciding set. It was mostly competitive, with the exception of the Alcaraz match, but he was minus 1,100, so not exactly a surprise there. But once again, a pretty fun day of action on the men's side. And I do want to briefly rant about something for the, I'd say, tennis content. We got to have a conversation about Tennis Channel. We got to talk about the programming. Because I understand that Alcaraz is one of the best players in the world. I get that he's the 2-time Wimbledon champion. I get he won the French Open. I get it. You just showed Zverev pull off a massive Houdini act at the end of that second set. Fought off multiple match points, hit that crazy stab down the line to get the actual game. Tennis Channel, though, after showing the breaker with Zverev and Medvedev, just switched entirely to the Alcaraz match, which just started, by the way. So we're talking about like the 1-1 game or the 2-2 game in the first set. They're in the third set of a Medvedev-Zverev match, which is an absolute epic. Can you at least put the match on that has a bit more drama? I get that Alcaraz is a very common fan favorite, and I understand that he does bring viewership. It's an insane match in Halle. You just made us sit through about 2 hours of an absolute war in the first 2 sets, each going to breakers. And now you completely abandon coverage in the final set to show Alcaraz destroy Agut? Really? Like, that's the broadcasting decision you make there on Tennis Channel? No, I understand there's a Tennis Channel 2, and you could find streams on it. That's not the point. The point is, if you are going to get into, I'd say, just broadcasting quality tennis matches, and you have 2 separate top 10 caliber guys, and you're in the middle of an absolute war, which was looked like it was going to be over about 5-10 minutes prior. Zverev escaped, won the breaker, and then you never show the third set. I think it's insane. Alcaraz, I understand, brings some fans and brings some viewership, but once he went up a break in the first set against Agut immediately, the match was over very quickly. You could tell. They really should have put the Zverev match back on. I just feel like the programming on Tennis Channel is always a flip of the coin, and they do a really bad job of picking which matches to show, in my opinion. Now, you can understand if you're a non-diehard fan, a more casual fan, then you might be wanting to see Alcaraz blindly, and we want to just look at the best players play. I can understand that, But that match between Medvedev and Zverev was crazy, and you just completely abandoned coverage for the last hour, which is insane, after investing everybody's attention for 2 hours in the first 2 sets. Thought it was a joke by Tennis Channel. Wanted to mention that. I see Kevin asking, what's a head case? Somebody who you can't really trust. It's somebody who you think is not really wired properly, and you think that there's at any moment a chance of them imploding and self-destructing. So a head case is a player in tennis who can be very good, but can also unravel and self-destruct like that at the drop of a hat. So a head case is a guy you can fall apart at any moment, and we have seen that before with Medvedev and with Zverev. Medvedev did that, of course, in the second set on Saturday, and Zverev's done it for his entire career. And the fact is, he ended up winning the second set, held the momentum, and then he lost third set anyway. But it's a head case. It's kind of a term that I don't want to say invented, but I've coined on the podcast for years. I think it kind of sums up a lot of players on tour, men and women. And the fact is, I tend to use the term head case a lot. So there you go for what that means. But once again, for the actual matches, a lot of drama on the men's side, no drama on the women's side, and we'll see if Androsova can keep her form rolling for Wimbledon in a couple of weeks. Anyway, before we get into the actual breakdown of the final matches in Halle and in London, a reminder that we brought to you by our sponsor, which is Circa, because they're still hosting their fantasy ball contests, and if you want to try to get in on it, get a great Ultimate Fantasy Ball experience for a 12-person league, draft in Vegas, be sure to VIPs for the stay. Get a limo ride from the airport, a 5K tab from stadium, swim in a hotel stay for you and your 11 league mates. Always get 15% off everything at Circa Properties with the code SGP15. Enter the contest, though, at sportsgaming.com Circa to enter the free contest. We're also brought to you by MyBookie, because MyBookie is the place where sport. They have the NBA Finals, they have the tennis cards, they have UFC, they have boxing, they have baseball, you name it. They're available at 100 locations as well. Use crypto for all of his payouts. Use deposit with Santo for an account. Use code SGPN to get a $100 match up to 1K. Terms and conditions on MyBookie.ag, promo code SGPN. Welcome back, everyone, to the Tennis Game Podcast. Finished going through the recap of the matches on Saturday. Time to move on into the matches for Sunday. So both matches are actually on at the same time, which is a really just dumb idea from an actual programming perspective. You might have wanted to stagger them out a couple hours, but either way, point is both matches are at 9. So if you want to watch one match and Tennis Channel doesn't have it, get the streaming platform up. That's all I'm saying. So that could be a bit of a problem if you're trying to watch the matches on TV. 50-50 shot. Now, if I had to guess, it will be the Alcaraz match on TV. So if you want to watch Bublik Medvedev, get the computer up, find a stream, send a Russian link, and try to potentially find it. But I'm assuming Alcaraz will be on Tennis Channel 1, and Medvedev will be on Tennis Channel 2. So for the first match, we'll go with the Alcaraz match first, because why not? A big favorite here for Alcaraz, he's minus 430. Lehecka at plus 330. For the spread, minus 3.5 for Alcaraz, plus 3.5 for Lehecka. The over-under is at 22.5 games. For the set spread, you have Alcaraz in straight sets at minus 125. Lehecka to win a set is minus 105. The over 2.5 sets is plus 143. Now, for the team totals, Alcaraz at 12.5 heavily juiced, or 13. 13 is minus 115 on both sides. The Lehecka team total, though, is 10.5, minus 115 on both sides. Now, I'm going to remind everybody for the head-to-head that Lehecka has actually beaten Alcaraz this year, which I'm sure people forgot about. But Lehecka actually beat Alcaraz in Doha back in February as he won in 3 sets. Face-off, though, in London, this exact event 2 years ago, and Alcaraz destroyed him as he won 6-2, 6-3. So conflicting information from the head-to-head. You have the most recent winner in Lehecka, and you have the winner on this exact court a couple of years ago from Alcaraz comfortably. Now, for the path of both players, Alcaraz has been fine. He looked very good against Agut, served very well. Agut, I said before, would have looked terrible on a back-to-back, and he did. Beat Rinderknecht, though, in straight sets. We did call Rinderknecht plus the game, thought his serve would do well, but Alcaraz is really never in danger of losing that match. Munar, he should have lost to. He was down a break in the third set, but either way, came back and he won. And Walton, he won in a second set breaker against. So once again, Alcaraz has not really been playing great tennis in the event, but he played his best match on Saturday, and maybe that carries over into the final on Sunday. Now, Lehecka has been playing great tennis. He beat Diallo, fresh off a title in straight sets. Beat Dimonauer as well, who's had a really bad run of it for the last couple months, but still a good one nonetheless in straight sets. Beat Fernley. I'd say a favorable draw for him, but still a straight set win, and then beat Draper with the crowd against him in 3 sets. Draper was dropping sets, but the point is Draper was still a top 5 guy in the world, so it's been a very good run for Lehecka, and we called it at plus 180. Now, for the actual, I'd say, serving stats of both players, Lehecka's been serving really, really well. So Lehecka has been broken 2 times in the entire event. He's only faced 7 breakpoints in the entire tournament. Alcaraz, by comparison, has been broken twice as well. He's faced 15 breakpoints. So you have seen Lehecka, I'd say, looking a bit sharper on the serve so far in the event. Of course, Alcaraz is a better returner than the guys that Lehecka faced, except for de Minaur. But de Minaur on grass, after being in pretty bad form, is definitely not near his usual standard, but still. Point is, Lehecka's been serving well, and can he serve well enough to cover the spread and to make Alcaraz sweat it? I think everybody is picking Alcaraz to win. I'm not going to interrupt you with that prediction. I think that Alcaraz should win this matchup. Will he roll? I'm going to say no. I think Lehecka makes it close. I think he might win a set. I might see a breaker in here, but I do think Alcaraz will eventually find a way to outlast Lehecka in the rallies, but I do think that Lehecka's serve can be a great equalizer for him. The firepower has been great. He neutralized Draper's solid return game, neutralized de Minaur's solid return game. It's been really, really impressive. Now, Alcaraz, the first serve percentage, can be up and down, and if it is down, you might see Lehecka be aggressive on the second serve returns, which can maybe get him a break or two if he picks his spots correctly. But I think Alcaraz will win. We know that he's the best grass player in the world, back-to-back Wimbledon champions, and I think you're looking at Lehecka, who has won a couple titles before, so the environment should not be too intimidating for him. But Alcaraz, I do think, is going to eventually find enough openings and create enough insane winners and just have enough, I'd say, highlight reel shots to eventually get the job done. But I think Lehecka is pretty steady. He's consistent, and I do think that Alcaraz can find a dip in his game where Lehecka can maybe steal a set. I don't mind the over in this matchup, actually. I think that the game total of 22.5 does feel kind of cheap or kind of low. It's minus 106. I don't mind it, but I can see a breaker in here. I can see a very close matchup. Once again, you saw Alcaraz beat Agut 6-4, 6-4, so no lopsided sets, and he beat Rinderknech 7-5, 6-4. So I can see a couple of very close sets. In fact, every set that Alcaraz has played in the event has had at least 10 games. He's had 0 sets of 6-3 or lower, so you might see a couple of marathon sets here. I like the over in this game, in this matchup. I think that's going to be a close battle. I think it might go 3. I think Alcaraz wins, but I do think that Lehecka is being kind of disrespected based on his form. I don't mind the games plus 3.5 at around plus 105. I don't mind it. The fact is, Alcaraz has not been great at covering this number so far in the event. He did against Lehecka. He did against Agut, despite Agut, of course, not being in great form, and he did so against Rinderknech because of the serve. But I think we all knew Alcaraz would win that one in straight sets. Point is that there's some value on Lehecka. I think Alcaraz wins, but it's tough to find value in straight sets. It's minus 125. I think it's pretty telling, though, that the total is at 22.5, and yet Alcaraz to win in straight sets is only minus 125. They're leaving the door open for Lehecka to win a set, and I do think the over makes sense because Alcaraz could win a couple of competitive sets, and it still goes over for the total. So give me the over on that one. I think Lehecka goes down, but goes down swinging, and the Alcaraz wins, but I see it being somewhat closer than people think. Give me the over for this one. Moving on to, actually, I see a question from Manzi. Alcaraz has potential motivation catching Sinner. The truth is, I don't actually know how much the number one ranking matters to the guys who are competing for Grand Slams. At the end of the day, Alcaraz just won the French Open. He's closing in on Sinner's number one ranking. If he wins Wimbledon, he'll be number one anyway. I don't think it actually matters that much for the number one ranking. Alcaraz has been number one before. He'll be number one again. It's really not that big of a deal. You could argue towards the end of the season, maybe it would matter because you want to finish the year as the official number one. But in the middle of June, I don't think it really matters that much for number one ranking. I think Alcaraz wants to win because he wants to be in good form entering Wimbledon, and I think he'll try to win his third straight Wimbledon title. But do I think there's extra motivation for Alcaraz catching Sinner? No. I don't think it matters that much. It might matter in maybe like Cincinnati or a couple events post-US Open where they're trying to get the number one ranking to end the year. But mid-season, I don't think it matters that much personally, but I think Alcaraz, of course, will try to win anyway, trying to win a title because he's been in great form, trying to keep the momentum rolling into Wimbledon. Anyway, moving on to the next matchup. You have Bublik against Medvedev. Now, for this one, you have a much cheaper line. Medvedev is minus 158. Bublik is plus 138 for the spread. You have minus 1.5 for Medvedev, plus 1.5 for Bublik, and the over-under is at 23.5. Now, for the team totals, 13 for Medvedev, minus 115 both sides, 12.5 for Bublik at minus 120 in the over, minus 110 towards the under. For the actual spreads here, you have the set spread for Medvedev straight sets at plus 167. Bublik to win in straight sets is plus 304. The over 2.5 sets is around plus 125. Now, the history has been very one-sided, couple of close matches, but Medvedev has owned Bublik. In fact, he is 7-0. Never lost to Bublik. Faced off last year in Madrid on clay, 7-6, 6-4. Faced off in Dubai 2 years ago. Medvedev won in straight sets, 6-4, 6-2. The only two meetings that happened after 2021, so a lot of the meetings are dated. No meetings on grass, so they've never actually faced off on Bublik's favorite surface. But the point is Medvedev has been playing great tennis here, and he should be favored in the spot. Now, it is going to be an important win for either guy. Bublik's trying to win his second title here, and it would be nice to add another title to his collection after losing in the quarterfinals of the French Open, playing the best tennis of his entire career. Medvedev, though, has been involved in a massive drought. He's actually not appeared in an ATP final in 15 months. 15 months for Medvedev to actually make it into an ATP final, which is kind of insane to think about. But when you think about how bad he's been over the last couple of once again years, or really just basically a year and a half at this point. First final in 15 months for Medvedev as a former number one player in the world is kind of insane. And I actually want to see what Medvedev's last title was, because it had to have been at least 2 years ago. I want to see when his last title was. So his last title was in 2023. It's been a long time. A long, long time since Medvedev's won a title. So it's pretty important for both guys. Now, for the path of both players here, you have Medvedev has been in great form. Dropped a set to Zverev, which you probably shouldn't have dropped. A couple of set points that he blew, but eventually did win in 3. Mickelson straight sets, and House in straight sets, and Altmaier in straight sets. For Bublik, he's had a pretty interesting road. Beat Muller in straight sets, beat Sinner in 3, beat Makic in straight sets, and beat Khachanov in 3 sets as well. So a bit of balance between wars and, I'd say, straightforward wins for Bublik, but the point is Medvedev's owned him in the head-to-head, 7-0 lifetime, and we'll see how he looks in the event. To argue who's looked better over the course of this tournament, it's really close. I think both guys have looked really good in the event. I think Medvedev's been more consistent for the actual, I'd say, match-in, match-out basis, but Bublik's ceiling is undeniable, and he beats Sinner. Now, Medvedev did beat Sinner on grass in Wimbledon, so both guys, when they're on point on grass, can beat anybody, which is definitely true. So I do think you're looking at what should be a fun matchup. Do I agree with the money line being minus 158? I think I do. I'd argue maybe a bit expensive, maybe like minus 140, but the guy's 7-0 lifetime against Bublik. I can't really argue with him being a favorite. I think he's looked like the best player into the event. Bublik still has moments where he'll have to fight off a break point or two because he'll go for some dumb drop shot. Actually happened in the final game of the match against Khachanov. He was up 40-love with 3 match points and somehow ended up facing a break point in the game. He lost 4 straight points. He was able to get away with it, and he ended up winning and holding in that game. But the fact is, Bublik, I think, will eventually self-destruct a set minimum. I think Medvedev should win at least a set just by keeping the ball in play, letting Bublik go for the drop shots, hit some unforced errors, and Medvedev might steal it. But I can see you're looking at a spot where it should be an entertaining matchup. Think it might be close for at least a set. Maybe it goes 3. But I think Medvedev wins. I think Bublik, despite being a former champion, is a guy who has just not had this guy's number in the past. Now, being on grass helps because Bublik can shorten the points, come to the net, do some drop shots, and hold serve. But Medvedev's been serving very well in the event. In fact, he served better than Bublik has in the event. So Bublik's been broken 3 times in the event. He's faced 19 break points. Medvedev has only faced 9 break points, and he's been broken 1 time. And Zverev, whether you like him or not, is a very good returner, and he did nothing against Medvedev, served the entire match. Think it's going to be a pretty competitive matchup, but I think that Medvedev's in better form. I think it'll be close. Give me Medvedev in 3. I'll give Bublik a set in this one. If you want to go for the team total over parlay, I don't mind that, which is on Caesars. Could be an option for you as well. But I'll go with the over, and I'll go with Medvedev winning. I think it'll be a close matchup. The Medvedev does eventually win. I think it might be a final set breaker, might get a full war out of it. But I do think Bublik will eventually hurt himself with shot selection in a big spot. And I do think Khachanov, despite losing that match to Bublik, he had chances. Bublik left the door open on numerous occasions, and Khachanov could not capitalize. I think Medvedev will. So based on that, I'll go with, once again, Medvedev, and I'll go with the over in this matchup. Let's wrap it up, though, for the preview of the finals in Halle and in London. Now it's time for the lock and dog picks. Before we actually get into the picks, though, a reminder that we are brought to Market Fantasy because they're going along with the NBA Finals with their extender bonus hopping game long the series goes, the bigger bonus gets. When you sign up, though, for your new account, use code SGPN. They get a special pick and a first-time deposit offer up to $1K in bonus cash on fantasy promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm, because they just dropped a great new feature called Power Trends. They are AI-detected patterns. Rhythm's models have consistently have a high ROI. Power Trends are updated every day, and they're exclusive to Rhythm. No touts or noises, clean data-backed picks. Download the Rhythm app, check out Power Trends, start betting smarter. Also try it out for free for a week by using the 7-day free trial. Go to sportsgamble.com/rhythm to get your 7-day free trial. Welcome back, everyone, to the Tennis Scam Podcast. Finished going through the preview of the finals in London and in Halle. Now it's time for the lock and dog picks. For the lock, I'm going to go back to the Bublik and Medvedev match, and I am going to go with a prop here. Give me the tie break. I'm going to go with over half a breaker at -130. Both guys have served very well in the event. Medvedev's been broken one time in the entire event. Bublik did not break it. Not Bublik, sorry. Zverev did not break him in the entire matchup on Saturday, and Zverev is a very good returner. Medvedev, though, has been serving very well. Bublik can return well, but I do think you're looking at a guy, and the court speed should help out too. I apologize. Medvedev got broken one time against Zverev, but Zverev's a good returner. Point is that the court speeds have really limited the number of breakpoint chances for everybody in this event. I see a lot of good serving. I see a lot of holds, and I do think that a breaker is definitely possible for this matchup. But both guys have served very well in the event. Bublik is going to a breaker in 2 straight. I think it will be a close matchup. I think, once again, it could go 3 sets or maybe a straight set win that's competitive. But I think one breaker, picking Bublik and Medvedev to each hold 6 times in a row on these fast courts in Halle, some of the fastest courts on the entire tour in the calendar year, I think it's a great price at -130. Give me the breaker as my lock for the show. For the dog, I am going to go with the other matchup, and I am going to go with a niche play. I've not gone to this in a while. I'm going to go with the first 6 games in the Alcaraz and Oleshka match. Give me the 3-3 at +105 on DraftKings. Alcaraz and Oleshka have been serving insanely well in the event. They've each been broken 2 times in the entire tournament. So both guys are serving well. Oleshka especially, only facing 7 break points in the entire event. Alcaraz, I think, should hold the first 3 times. Oleshka, I think, has been serving well enough to keep Alcaraz's return game off balance, and the courts are also fast here in London. Not as fast as Halle, but I do think +105, picking 3 holds apiece when both guys have only been broken 2 times the entire event, has some value. I'll take it. Give me the first 6 games 3-3 at +105 as my dog. So once again, the plays here for the final matches in Halle and London, lock's going to be on Bublik and Medvedev over half a tie break at -130. For the dog, I'm going to go with Alcaraz and Oleshka. First 6 games, 3-3 score at +105. It's going to wrap it up for the show. For the next episode, we're going to get into the preview and the outrights for Eastbourne and for Mallorca, which is the final pair of grass events for Wimbledon. So keep an eye out for that. Till next time, good luck to all of you and all of your bats. Bye, everyone.